Welcome back, and now it's time for our press review. We're going to take a look at the main headlines of our Egyptian dailies. But first of all, allow me to welcome my guest for today, Dr. Raouf Gaffar. He's a political and economic analyst. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Right, and let me start by taking a look at Al Masri Al-Yawm newspaper. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said that Egypt had placed sustainable development at the forefront of its national priorities. This came during his speech at the United Nations Sustainable Development Summit held on the 25th to the 27th of September. El-Sisi noted that the Egyptian state had formulated a national plan that integrates and contributes to the implementation of the UN 2030 agenda, as well as strategies aimed at raising the capacity of countries to achieve progress. Speaking at the summit, El-Sisi called for the necessity of political commitment by all member states and the international and regional organizations towards these vital issues, and also need to consolidate efforts towards serious and sustainable joint work. So, Doctor, first of all, how do you read the speech that was delivered by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi?
Well, it was to the point. Sustainable development, of course, is the road to complete development because by definition, it is a long-lasting development. It involves creating a lot of jobs on lifetime basis, not temporary. Jobs require training, which means, again, they require a certain level of education. I mean, it involves all aspects of life. And not only that, but creating jobs for young people in their own homelands prevents them from taking chances and leaving, whether legally or illegally, to other countries and try their luck there. So, I mean, consistent development and sustainable development is the ultimate goal of any nation. And I think that after a successful economic reform, after a very huge, I should say, infrastructure project execution, it is high time to start implementing projects and of sustainable nature. And this is exactly what our president is aiming at, and this is, of course, what not only Egypt but all the developing countries are aspiring to.
Right, moving on to Al Watan newspaper. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has discussed boosting relations with Ukraine's president on Wednesday in a meeting on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Presidential spokesman Bassam Radi said President el-Sisi, during his meeting, congratulated Zelensky for taking over the post, expressing appreciation for the stable bilateral relations between the two countries and the recent growth those relations has witnessed, especially in the economy and trade sectors. For his part, the Ukrainian president praised the close ties between the two countries, expressing keenness to push forward the efforts to develop these relations in all of its forms.
I mean, of course,
these are the side meetings that we were talking about.
I mean,
yes.
I think this year particularly, a record number maybe of heads of states attended the General Assembly meeting. I think in excess of 90 different between presidents and head of governments, etc., etc. So it was an excellent occasion to meet, and I think our president met with a very big number of
yes, just allow me to take a
counterparts.
look at another
Sure
meeting,
thing.
this time from Al-Ahram newspaper. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi also discussed on Wednesday with his Portuguese counterpart, Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, issues related to illegal migration in addition to the latest developments in Libya.
Sure. I mean, a lot of bilateral connections and relations are discussed in such meetings. different issues, whether regional issues or international issues. Of course, economic relation is very much involved. I mean, it is an excellent occasion for our president to see his counterparts, to meet with them, renew his relation and friendship with most of them. And of course, this reflects on the relation between the two countries. And I think that we need as much help, as much know-how, as much whatever. Any
I think also the
advanced
president
country.
now, we can say that he has very good relations with all of
Yes.
most or the
Yes.
leaders, head of states and leaders as well. This is very important.
What I love is that people like him. Not only that, but they listen to him. I mean, whenever he
has
talks,
a vision. Yes.
he has a vision. He has achievements. So, and he, of course, acquired experience in different sectors. Some of them are not very pleasant, but anyway, like terrorism, what have you. But he has now an accumulated experience that makes people listen to him and try and follow suit to his experience and what he did, his achievement. So this is important, to have people not only like you, but listen to you. And this is maybe it's a gift from God, because not everybody has it. So alhamdulillah, our president is the kind of man that people love to see what he has to say to them.
Right, moving on to أخبار اليوم newspaper. Egypt's delegation to the UN in New York has issued a strongly worded response to a statement made by the Turkish president during the opening of the 74th session of the UN General Assembly. In his speech before the General Assembly on Tuesday, he renewed his previous call to launch an investigation into the death of Mohamed Morsi, who died of a heart attack last June. And the Egyptian response, which was issued in the form of an official letter addressed to the head of the General Assembly and the UN Secretary General, expressed the Egyptian delegation's perplexity over the Turkish president's persistence on continuing his baseless and flimsy allegations. The letter also said that Erdogan's baseless claims pretend to be defending the values of justice, while in reality they express hatred of the Egyptian people, who have nothing but respect for the Turkish nation.
Well, I mean, the guy is helpless. I mean, he is a member, a devoted member of the Brotherhood, and he has to say that. I mean, by commitment.
Trying to find anything.
Of course. So he has to say it, and nobody listens now. I was very pleased with the answer of our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It was really a very strong answer. But again, we should not give him weight, because we know he has to say that. He will never stop saying that, and people are taking him very lightly now, as far as this is
just
concerned.
as we can see so far, that now Egypt does not leave any word to be mentioned against us.
Yes.
I mean, there is also a transparent and response and decisive stance against anyone who might just think of
Yes.
accusing or
course.
talking negatively about Egypt. And this is something of great importance as well. We have the channels. We know how to
Yes.
tackle it now professionally.
This is the fourth generation war. The
the
media
president was talking
and
about as well, yes.
information, etc., etc. We have to, of course, fight it back the way they are fighting us, and we are successful in that. But again, we have to give priority. In my humble opinion, of course, I don't think that what Erdogan says is serious. I mean, so we answer strongly, of course, but when you think of it, he is, I don't want to say he's forced to say it, but he has to. And that's why whatever he says is repeated, whatever he says. I mean, everybody knows what we are doing. We are doing it particularly on the international level. very clearly, very candidly, and nobody has anything to say, except if he is paid to say otherwise.
Right, and still with more from Al Watan newspaper. The Egyptian Awqaf Ministry and the Central Muslim Spiritual Board of Russia, the CMSB Russia, agreed on boosting joint cooperation in the field of training imams and muftis and renewing the religious discourse. This came at a meeting between chairman of the Russian Council of Muftis and also the Awqaf minister. And they are currently visiting Russia to participate in an international conference on Islam, interfaith and cultures.
Yes. I am always delighted when I hear something to do with the activity of Al-Azhar, with the activity of Al-Awqaf. This is the way it should be. This is the way it was, and this is the way it should continue to be. We have to be there, we have to be present. We are the reference. As far as the religion is concerned, we are the reference, and we should not be absent from the stage at any point of time. And such meetings, conferences, etc., give us the position we deserve, and we should continue doing that at all times.
Right, moving on to Al-Ahram newspaper. President of the Washington-based Middle East Institute, Paul Salem, on Wednesday called for granting Egypt the leadership role to tackle the Middle East issues instead of the United States. Salem said that the region has for so long depended on the U.S. to resolve its issues, especially the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and the issue with Iran, adding that Egypt, as the biggest Arab country, can play this role in the region.
I think that the United States, under the present administration, understands this point, and of course, Egypt has always been playing an important role as regarding the regional issues, particularly. And I think that even if the United States, being the strongest and most powerful, etc., country, still asks the advice of Egypt as far as regional issues are concerned, particularly. And again, I repeat what I said a few minutes ago. President Trump listens to what our president has to say regarding the issues, and I think he follows his advice. This is my opinion. But again, we have to play the role. The geography says that, history says that, so we have a role to assume, and we are doing it properly. And again, I repeat, not that we do it instead of the United States, but again in cooperation with the United States, in always conferring and talking and cooperating with the United States. I think this is the way to do it.
Right, moving on to Al-Shuruq newspaper. Egypt is keen on empowering women, especially in the tourism sector, according to Minister Rania Al-Mashat's statements on Wednesday. During her participation at the Global Initiative to Empower Women and Fill Gender Gaps in Employment Opportunities session as part of the World Economic Forum events in New York, Al-Mashat said that the ministry is working on a strategy in cooperation with the private sector in Egypt to make the work environment more suitable for women.
I mean, because the Minister of Tourism was speaking, she said the women empowerment in tourism. But I think that we have taken very positive steps towards women empowering, not only in tourism, but in all domains. So, yes, of course. And this has had to come, and not only in Egypt, but we are promoting the empowerment of women in Africa particularly, and all over. So yes, of course, women are important, and they have to play the role not only at home but outside, of course.
Right, and finally from Al Shuruk newspaper, Ministry of Trade and Industry revealed Wednesday that Egypt's non-oil exports jumped 3% during the first 8 months of 2019 to record 17.65 billion US dollars compared to 16.612 billion US dollars during the same period of 2018. The ministry clarified in a report that the increase of exports reflected positively on declining trade deficit by 80 million US dollars during the 8 months compared to the same period of the prior year.
Beautiful. I mean, you know, the word export is music to my ears when you mention that Egypt is exporting, regardless of what we are exporting. This again is, I repeat, is music to my ear, because this is the way. And I'm happy that we are mentioning this word a lot of times now, and I hope that we get more and more exports and less imports, and hopefully we become.
Right, at the end, Dr. Raouf Gaffar, political and economic analyst, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a very nice day yourself.
Right, and still we have more to bring you on our breakfast show, but first, moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back with more on our show.